Okay everyone, now that you've finalized your teams, we'll begin the chapter 6, Analyzing Consumer Markets. Work with your teammates to discuss each topics within the limited amount of time. Good luck to all of you.
Breathe in, 숨을 내쉬고 두려움에 맞설 때 내게 들려온 한마디 조금 더 힘을 내라고 단계 속에 가려져 한 줄기 빛도 없이 고민하고 또 고민했었어 오늘의 나를 위해서 남과 다른 시선에 또다시 비춰지는 그런 날들에 반대로 나를 일으켜.
Let's call the first team. Team 1, the stage is yours.
일으켜 달려나가 지금부터 시작해봐.
What is consumer behavior? Consumer behavior is the study of how individuals, groups, and organizations select, buy, use, and dispose goods, services, ideas, or experiences to satisfy their needs and wants. There are 3 factors that influences consumer behavior. First is the cultural factors. First, we define culture. Culture is the fundamental determinants of a person's wants and behaviors. Culture is breakdown into subcultures, which are your nationalities, your religions, your racial groups, and your geographic regions. While according to the United States, we have 7 social classes. These are the lower lowers, the upper lowers, your working class, your middle class, your upper middle, your lower uppers, and your upper uppers. We move on now to our social factors, which is divided into 4. Your reference groups, your cliques, your family, and your roles and status. Reference groups are groups that have direct contact, which is divided into 3 groups. Your membership groups, your aspirational groups, and then your dissociative groups. Membership groups are your direct influences, which are the primary groups and the secondary groups. In the primary groups, we have here the family, friends, your neighbors, and then your co-workers. Secondary groups, on the other hand, consist of your religious groups, your professionals, and your trade unions. The aspirational groups are the persons or people that wants to join. These are the professional associations and then your sports team. The dissociative groups are the values or behavior an individual rejects. Let's now proceed to cliques, which are the small groups whose members interact frequently. Clique members are similar and their closeness facilitates. Next is our family, which is the most important and most influential primary reference group. Families are divided into 2, which are the family of orientation, consists of your parents and your siblings. And then the family of procreations, which includes your spouse and your children. Next is our roles and status. Roles and status help define norm for behavior. Roles consist of the activities a person is expected to perform, while the status is what role connotes.
Next is personal factors. Personal characteristics that influence a buyer's decision include age and stage in the life cycle, occupation and economic circumstances, personality and self-concept, and lifestyle and values. Number 1. Age and stage in the life cycle. Our taste in food, clothes, furniture, and recreation is often related to our age. Consumption is also shaped by the cycle and number, age, and gender of people in the household at any point in time. Number 2. Occupation and economic circumstances. Marketers try to identify the occupational groups that have above-average interest in their products and services, and even tailor products to certain occupational groups. As the recent prolonged recession clearly indicated, both products and brand choice are greatly affected by economic circumstances like spendable income, savings, and assets. For example, individuals with high-paying jobs tends to buy luxurious items, while individuals with low income prefer the affordable ones. Number 3. Personality and self-concept. Personality is a set of distinguished human psychological traits that led to relative, consistent, and enduring responses to the environmental stimuli, including buying behavior. Brands also have personalities, and consumers are likely to choose brands whose personality match their own. And last, lifestyle and values. A lifestyle is a person's pattern of living in the world as expressed in activities, interests, and opinions. Marketers search for a relationship between their products and lifestyle groups. Lifestyle are shaped partly by whether consumers are money-constrained or time-constrained. Companies aiming to serve the money-constrained will create lower-cost products and services.
일으켜 달려나가 지금부터 시작해봐.
These are the key psychological processes. So first is motivation. So there are many needs we have at any given time. Some of them are biogenic and psychogenic. Example here in biogenic is kapag gutom ka or uhaw ka, the product you want to buy is food and drinks because it will satisfy your needs in that period of time. And then psychogenic such as the need for recognition, esteem, or belonging like status, affiliation, and achievement. A need becomes a motive when it is aroused to a sufficient level of intensity to drive us to act. Motivation has both directions. We select one goal over another and intensity. We pursue the goal with more or less vigor. There are three best-known theories of human motivation. First is Freud's theory. Sigmund Freud assumed the psychological forces shaping people's behavior are largely unconscious and that a person cannot fully understand his or her own motivations. Example here is, when evaluating a specific product, people will respond not only to their stated capabilities but they also look at their shape, size, weight, material, color, and brand name. Kaya minsan hindi natin masyadong na-assess yung isang product kasi hindi lang tayo napofocus dun sa nasabing capabilities. Instead, tinitignan pa natin yung kanilang less conscious details. Next theory is Maslow's theory. According to him, human needs are arranged in a hierarchy from most to least pressing, from physiological needs to safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. Example here is, the man is starving, so he will try to satisfy this need first before going to move to his next needs like his safety needs, social needs, and so on. And lastly is Frederick Hirschberg's developed a two-factor theory that distinguishes dissatisfier from satisfier. The absence of dissatisfier is not enough to motivate a purchase. Satisfier must be present. For example, having a computer without a warranty is a dissatisfier. Although product warranty may exist, it does not serve as a sufficient reason to motivate or to satisfy a purchase since it does not provide a intrinsic satisfaction because usability is what motivates or satisfies purchases.
Perception. What is perception? Perception is the process by which we select, organize, and interpret information inputs to create a meaningful picture of the world. The power of sensory marketing. Marketing that engage the consumer senses and affect their perception, judgment, and behavior. According to Arna Krishna, there are two ways of manifesting sensory marketing. First, shape consumer perceptions on products and service. Second, affect the perceptions of specific product or services through color, taste, smell, or shape. Example, the size and shape of the glass and the color and smell of the liquid are all cues which may affect consumer perceptions and evaluations when drinking a glass of orange juice. Considers the five senses: touch, smell, sound, taste, and vision. There are perceptual processes. First, selective attention. Marketers must work hard to attract consumers' notice. People are more likely to notice stimuli that related to a current need. For example, consumers who are motivated to buy a smartphone will notice smartphone ads and be less likely to notice non-phone related ads. Second, selective distortion. Tendency to interpret information in a way that fits our preconceptions. Third, selective retention. We're likely to remember good points about a product we like and forget good points about competing products. And the last one is subliminal perception. Argue that marketers embed covert, subliminal messages in ads or packaging.
Learning. Learning induces changes in our behavior arising from experience. In simple words, these are your behavior because of the experience. For example, kumain ka po sa resto and di mo naman nagustuhan yung pagkain nila. Ganun po yung learning na sinasabi. And learning is produced through drives, stimuli, cues, reinforcement, and responses. And other keynotes of learning are hedonic bias and discrimination. Next po is emotions. Ang emotions naman po na sinasabi is yung mood mo. Mood mo sa ngayong araw, kunwari, masaya ka. Ang gusto mong i-purchase, pag masaya ka, is mga burger, milk tea, ganun po. Mga comfort food mo po. Yun po yung emotions. Depende po sa mood mo, yung pag-purchase mo ng isang bagay. Next po is memory. We have short-term memory and long-term memory. So, short-term memory po is limited repository of information. And long-term memory naman po is unlimited and permanent repository of information. And other informations naman po about memory are memory encoding and memory retrieval. Pag sinabing memory encoding is how and where the info gets into our memory. And yung memory retrieval naman po is how and where the info gets out po sa ating memory.
일으켜 달려나가 지금부터 시작해봐.
So here, let's talk about the 5 stages of buying decision process. And first and foremost, marketers should focus on consumer decision process rather than purchase decision. Consumers go through all the 5 stages of buying decision process whenever they purchase. But when consumers buy a product in routine, they skip some stages of buying decision process. So, the first stage is problem recognition. Buyer identify a need or identify a problem. The buyer feels a differentiation between his or her actual state and ideal state. The need can be initiated by internal stimuli. When a normal need arises to such a level, it becomes a drive. External stimulus can also trigger a need. For example, Ms. Zamora feel need for a new hobby when her business ended. She needed a camera and Photoshop software when her friend talked her about photography. So, advertising is also be an external stimuli. Second stage in consumer decision process is information search. If the buyer's drive is strong enough and he is near to a satisfying product, the buyer is likely to go for it. If not, consumer or buyer may store this need and commence information search associated to the need. The buyer or consumer can get information from many sources, and this includes personal, which are family, friends, neighbors, and acquaintances, and also commercial. These are advertising, websites, emails, and salespersons. And public, these are mass media, social media, consumer rating organization. And lastly, experiential, handling, examining, using the product. The influence of such information sources differs with the buyer and the product. As more information is got, the buyer's awareness and consciousness increases about the brands and their features.
Evaluation of alternatives. Consumer forms preferences among the brands, the choice set, and may also form an intention to buy the most preferred brand. So, on this stage, the consumers evaluate all of their products and brand options on a scale of attributes to which who have the ability to deliver the benefit that the customer is seeking. Next, we have beliefs and attitude. Through experience and learning, people acquire beliefs and attitudes. This in turn influence in your buying behavior. So these are your moral principles that guide you in your life and affect your behavior as a consumer. Next is the expectancy value model. The expectancy value model of attitude formation states that the consumers evaluate products and services by combining their brand beliefs, the positives and the negatives, and according to importance. So in this model, the consumer's belief about each brand's attributes are multiplied by their respective weights to produce a preference ranking of the alternatives.
Hi, I'm Jadilyn Silao. Our topic is purchase decision and we're going to discuss about non-compensatory models of consumer choice and intervening factors. Purchase decision. Evaluation stage. The consumer forms of preferences among the brands is the choices set and may also form the intention to buy the most preferred brand. Next is non-compensatory models of consumer choice. If extensive value models of a compensatory model in the perceived good things about the product can help to overcome the perceived bad things. And the three heuristics choices are conjunctive heuristic. The consumer sets a minimum acceptable cutoff of level in each attribute chooses the first alternative that meets the minimum standard for all attributes. Second, the psychotropic heuristic. The consumer chooses the best brand of basis of perceived most important attribute. 3. Elimination by aspect and heuristic. The consumer compares the brands of an attribute selected probabilistically versus the probability choices and attributes that cause positive related to importance and eliminates brands that not meet minimum acceptable cutoff. Next is intervening factors. We have two general factors can intervene between the purchase intention and the purchase decision. First factor is attitudes of others, the intensity of the others person's negative attitude towards a preferred alternative, and our motivation to comply the other person's wishes. Consumer supports which is provide unbiased expert review of all types of products and services. Second factors is anticipated situational factors that may erupt to change the purchase intention. And lastly, the 5 types of perceived risk. First, function risk, the product does not perform the expectations. Second, physical risk, the product process treat the physical well-being or health of the users of others. 3. Financial risk, the product does not worth the price paid. And 4. Social risk, the product result is embarrassment in front of others. 5. Psychological risk, the products affect the mental well-being of users. 6. The time risk, the failure of product results in unfortunate cost of finding others and satisfactory product.
Hi guys, I'm Thalia'c and I'm going to discuss to you the post-purchase behavior. Post-purchase behavior happens whenever we receive our ordered items or parcels. And there are 3 levels of it. Number 1 is post-purchase satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Once you open your parcel and have seen the item you ordered, you might feel satisfied if it meets your expectation. But if the item didn't meet if the item is expectation versus reality, of course, you will feel dissatisfied. And that level of post-purchase behavior is what we call post-purchase satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Next one is post-purchase action. post-purchase action. In this endeavor, you decide if you will keep the item or give it back to the owner. If it can be used for a very, very long time and you know that it is efficiently effective, of course, you might keep it and use it immediately. But if the item was already broken or didn't meet your expectation, you might abandon it or return it to the seller. Last one is the post-purchase usage and disposal. Just like what I said earlier, there are a lot of factors to be considered. If the item is durable for long-term use or can be used in any events like so, and that level of post-purchase behavior is what we call post-purchase disposal. That's all.
일으켜 달려나가 지금부터 시작해봐.
Moderating effects on consumer decision making. First is the low involvement consumer buying decisions. The expectancy value model assumes a high level of consumer involvement or engagement and active processing the consumer undertakes in responding to a marketing stimulus. So I think ang pino-point out dito sa consumer buying decisions is yung mga seller in-attract or convince nila yung mga buyers sa mga high quality products nila. Kaya parang tayong mga consumers, nagiging impulsive buyer tayo. Yung na-attract tayo agad tapos gusto na natin bilhin kaya siguro sinabi dyan na low involvement ang consumer sa decision making kasi bili tayo ng bili kahit di naman natin masyadong kailangan. Tapos sabi dito sa paragraph, high involvement or engagement tayo sa mga products na ino-offer sa atin kasi madali tayong ma-attract sa mga ino-offer. Diba yung ibang products limited edition lang tapos madaming nag-aagawan doon. Second, the variety-seeking buying behavior. Some buying situations are characterized by low involvement but significant brand differences. This buying behavior, the consumers do a lot of brand switching for the sake of variety or curiosity, not because of the dissatisfaction. So dito pumapasok yung pagkakaroon ng decision ang isang consumer to try another brand. Think about cookies. The consumer has some belief about cookies, chooses a brand without much evaluation and evaluates the product during consumption. Next time, the consumer may reach for another brand out of a desire for a different taste. Brand switching occurs for the sake of variety rather than from dissatisfaction.
Behavioral decision theory has been identified many situations in which consumers make seemingly irrational choices. Behavioral economics, the works of this, is also challenged from economic theory assumption about rationality. There are two broad areas, decision heuristic and decision framing. First, let's tackle about decision heuristic. Heuristics are straightforward rules of thumb based on our past experience. For example, when you are in McDonald's and the available is between fried chicken and burger. From your past experience, you prefer the taste of fried chicken. So instantly, si fried chicken ang pipiliin mo. In heuristic, there are three subtopic. Number 1, the availability heuristic, which means relying the information comes to mind quickly. Second, the representative heuristic, which mean based on the prediction on how similar of an object. And third, anchoring and adjustment, which means initial judgment and then adjust it. The second topic is framing. Framing is the manner choices are to be presented by decision maker. And the last topic is mental accounting, which means describe the way consumer code, categorize, and evaluate financial choices. For example, when you buy a bottle of shampoo rather than a sachet, after purchasing the product, you are really thinking if you are really save the money or not.